Americans love animals. So that's always talking about. Yeah. You got a dog? No.
No.
No? Oh, okay. So I'm gonna ask y'all this, like, again, I'm in a Memphis, so there's no like main big. It's a base here, but not like a big like military base. So I don't get to see no chiefs or new chiefs or they have it down there by the base, but that's kind of far from me. But since the season started about maybe a week now, I mean, y'all been doing it for a while. So, and I know it can get old just saying the same thing consistently, over every year. And you like, well, I'm just going to fall back. Because as a chief, maybe, and as a senior chief, you probably was heavily involved. And now, you're a master chief, you like, okay, I'll let the chiefs and senior chiefs handle that. And I'll just drop them off some knowledge when I see them, when I bump into them or whatever like that. But do y'all learn anything like year after year? Like, do you see anything new that you like, well, this is new. Like I learned, like I'm learning something, from this group. Had that ever happened to y'all? And I'm just asking because I just thought about
I think it happens all the time.
it. Mm-hmm.
And it may not be like something earth shattering. Sometimes it might just be a perspective
Right.
or a way that I never thought of something. This year, I have a very I've had some introverts, but this young man is extremely introverted.
Mm.
And so the smallest conversation for him is a big deal. Um, and he sang cadence this morning, and everybody was like, but it was a lesson in, you know, what a person really can do when given the opportunity in the right platform.
And that's true because each year you see people come out of that shell that they were in. You seem like, okay, yeah, they're pretty solid first class. They do what they need to do, but they're not the really vocal type first class. So, but then going through the season, like you hear them more and speaking up more, and it's like, wow, I didn't know he or she had that in them, but they show it at that moment.
Yeah, I'll say you learn stuff every year because my first year I went through in Oceana, so my first two seasons were in Oceana. Then in like 2010, I was on board a carrier going through the season, and I'm just looking like the way they move and way they do things on the shipboard life, with the air wing integrated, of course. It was just totally different than what I was used to, and I'm like, wow, I'm learning something. I'm learning something new, and as years go on, going through it back in Oceana, going through it on different ships, during the season. It all brings a different challenge to it, but it also gives you, lessons learned on, just tools for the toolbox. You learn so much, you see so much different stuff. You're not just accustomed to this is the only way to do a season. No, it's a lot of ways to run a season, and it's a lot you can learn from it. And the individuals, they change along with the season.
Yeah, I'd say the same. It's like every season's the same, but not the same. And like what it gives an opportunity for those like you talk about the introverts and whatnot, but everyone has a different leadership style, so you see them come out come out of their shell, and you get to see what kind of leadership they're going to be as far as their role in the Chiefs mess. So that's what I like to see about it. Just kind of sit back, like you were talking about, take it in, drop some knowledge in there and whatnot. So, but then like when you talk, you can see when you capture the room and everyone's focused on you and listening.
Going through when y'all went through, would you rather go through now, current season, or you happy with when you went through when you went through?
Real deal, baby. We went all night long. Real deal.
Yeah, I guess they got to stop now. So hey, it's all good. But like some of the new chiefs that's gonna get selected, in Penn this year, they're going to be, they're gonna be LDOs, officers. Some of them gonna be, force master chiefs. They're gonna retire chiefs, fleet master chiefs, in this group right here. Years to come, one or two, maybe 10 of them are gonna be selected, to those type of positions. But we all know, that 6 weeks is not enough. It's a lot of continuous training. And, you know, and even though they've been the chief for some years, they still don't become that great chief. How do you determine the difference between the good chiefs and those great chiefs? In your opinion?
But I'll say this about the learning, like that 6 weeks, like you said, it's not enough. You go through, you put your khakis on, you go to work, you wear your khakis, everybody calling you chief, but you still don't feel your anchors. At least I didn't. I didn't feel my anchors until about March, and when I let them anchors drop, I let them drop, and I mean that's when I really know. Okay, I got it. You know, from there on out, I knew what my job was. My job was to take care of my people. You know, I'm still got to be competitive myself, but when my people eat, I'm going to eat. And I say that's what makes a great chief is making sure your people always eat. If your people are eating, you're going to eat because they write your eval.
Yeah, I'd say the difference between a good chief and a great chief is if you look around them, him or her, everyone around them is successful, both below and above their pay grade. So with ease too. So they're not focused on themselves, which is part of the season, but with ease they're making the ones around them successful, and as well as taking care of themselves.
That's real. That's real good. And that's how I guess you really measuring yourself between the goods and the greats. You know, okay, I'm make sure I'm gonna still do my thing, but I still gotta ensure that the people that around me are advancing as well and are being successful as well. Because if I'm just being successful, then it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. And then I would say capable of leading your peers. It's really easy to lead people that feel like they're under you in some way, have been told that they're under you in some way. But I'll always tell somebody, don't wait for the position to like move the mess. You may never get that position. It doesn't mean that you can't move the mess. And I need you to lead chiefs. And if you can't lead other chiefs, then there's going to come a point that you're going to fail to thrive because I need chiefs to lead other chiefs.
And that's key. That's spot on. Because again, how do you expect to be a senior chief if you can't lead other chiefs? You know, and in the same regards of being the senior chief, leading other senior chiefs and chiefs at the same time. That's when you know you're ready to be a match chief, you know, for the most part. But they are great talking points. And there was a guy that I used to work with on the Nassau. He was an AG chief, um, Mike Brown. And one day he told me, he said, man, he said, you are a chief's chief. And I said, what? And I didn't catch what he was saying because he was always dropping wisdom to me. Granted, he was an older guy, but he's been around for a while. But he was always dropping wisdom to me. Like, you know, at night we out to sea and, you know, we just hitting the rack late at night and him and I just be up talking, you know, just talking about a lot of just different things. And one day he told me, you're a chief. And at the time, I didn't understand what he really was talking about until like he told me like maybe few weeks later, like what it really is to be a chief. And he said, man, you are executing, going back to Adanya point, you know, leading other chiefs. You know, he said you got their ear where they listen to you and they gravitate to you. And then, you know, you can work with them, do what they need to do, help them out, you know, helping you out, helping yourself out and your people out at the same time. He said you really kind of mastered that. And I said, man, I didn't even know that's what it was called. But it was just learning how to be a good chief. So JP, you kind of went back and saying you figured out being the chief like, you know, less than a year after you made it. It took me about a good 2 or 3 years. I left the squadron, went to AIB Oceana, and it's a lot of chiefs there, chiefs, senior chiefs, and master chiefs there. But I didn't really get that training until I really got to the ship. You know, I always had a love for people and looking out for people, but it was just I really understood what a chief's supposed to be and what they supposed to be doing. You know, 24/7. You know, and I learned some things from Oceana. I won't say I didn't learn anything, but it was just most importantly with me going to the ship, my first ship's company to be exact. and just learning on how to be a chief and how to execute. So how do y'all say who's the chief? That terminology.
We call it a boat chief. So you can tell, like, come inspection time and whatnot. Not even inspection time, just going through that chief that's going to source out, hey, do you need help for that inspection outside his department, his or her department and whatnot? They're coming to you to see if you need help. You're not coming to them. And just making sure they're walking the boat and holding the standards. So the chief of the boat doesn't even have to work. You should be watching ESPN by 11 o'clock,
What was the question again? I
Just
got
like
lost.
how do you determine a chief's chief?
A chief's chief.
Yeah.
It's funny because I call myself the people's chief. Like The Rock referred to himself as the people's champ. I call myself the people's chief because you want to be that chief that the sailors number one, can trust. They can come to with anything. It doesn't have to be the sailors that work for me directly. It's just sailors in the command I'm in, the sailors in the ship I'm on. Because you want to be able to have that line of communication. There's no Heisman move going on. I'm a chief. You stay down there. No Heisman going on. We can have this dialogue. We can go back and forth, and that goes with men and women. Because a great book I read some years ago was Tony Dungy. I can't think the name of it, but it was Mentor Leader. Great book. It's about leaders always having a relationship with their people that work under them, and it's you can't have the same relationship with every sailor. So you have to have a different relationship with every sailor because every personality is so different. So I always try to have that, those conversations so I can figure out ways I can talk to people and get the people to, to move the way I need them to move and do the things I need them to do to make themselves successful, make us successful as a team. And that's what I say is part of being the people's chief. You know what I'm saying?
Is this like being your favorite rapper's favorite rapper?
100. That's 100 right there. Yeah, that's 100 right there. That's 100 right there. That's enough said on that. I respect that. All right. So now we're talking about, again, training, going through the season. The biggest challenge for a lot, and I can say for Adanya and I, we in a rate where we get we have a lot of officers, LDOs, warrant officers that we deal with. Some understand the chief's mess and some don't. So as a new chief coming in, or as a seasoned chief, and I'm just trying to tell y'all, hey, I'm having issues with my division officer. What can y'all educate me on to help me grow a better relationship with my division officer? Because sometimes it may not be easy. Because again, some of our division officers, like in the aviation community, they were a chief, a senior chief, hell, I mean, I'm stretching maybe match chief, but I definitely know a chief and a senior chief for certain. And sometimes they ain't trying to hear what the chief's man saying. They just not, So how do you maneuver and to build a greater relationship with that division officer?
I guess one thing I do is I got kind of a unique scenario because on submarines, a lot of the times the splasher is an ensign, and they're also a department head. So what I do a lot of the time, and one way you can build that relationship is feed them. So feed them the information before they go brief, commanding officer or the other department heads and whatnot, to make them successful when they brief, so that they go in there and come out successful. And you don't need the recognition. What do you need it for? You're good, right? So make them successful, give them recognition, and don't take credit for it. Give them the credit.
Because they need it. They really do need it more than we would, but they do need it. You're right about that. I didn't even think about some of the instances that are like department heads on certain, either subs or some small ships. But yeah. And sometimes like even like on the Gators, we get brand new like ensigns, as a division officer somewhere, like on the G2 in the Armory. So and it's real training. It's real training.
Yeah, for me, No, for AZs, I've been a squadron person pretty much my whole career. So I never had to go work on a ship to deal with ensigns straight out of the academy or OCS or whatever the case may be. Always have some LDO, a warrant officer in maintenance control. You can't tell them nothing because they think they know it all. So that's where my relationship with. So I never thought I had to do any training with a JO, but I did as a chief, as a brand new chief. Like I said, when them anchors dropped, I had a lieutenant. He was a material control officer, and he just come over there because I had the AZs and LSs, and he just pinged me with LS questions. Chief, why is this done? Chief, why this? I'm an AZ man. I don't know why the hell this shit ain't done. So instead of getting upset with him, I got smart. I went and got all the supply books and all the stuff that he would sit over there and read, come over and talk to me like he's smart. I got smarter than him. So when he come to me, I'd already had the answer for him. I was like, that's how I got to deal with this person. So then when he came to maintenance control, he in my world. Now I really got to train him. But, like I said, most of the time I get people that pretty much they're seasoned. They already know what they're doing. But this last command in Japan, I had, I was in QA and I had a junior officer. He came straight from college. And I didn't realize he was watching me because my whole career I've been dealing with LDOs and warrants that pretty much take care of themselves. But he was watching me. He was watching how I was talking to the other chiefs in the mess. He was watching how I was talking to the maintenance mass chief, even though I didn't like the motherfucker. But he learned how to maneuver himself and to be able to talk intelligently to the maintenance mass chief when he tried to bully him because he was a young guy, and to talk to the CO because he was a junior officer, having to go explain stuff to the CO. And I didn't realize he learned that all from me. He told me after the fact. He watched how I was conducting and moving around. So I was training without even knowing I was training.
Yeah.
I agree. And then I think that sometimes you have to remember that we're human and that we've had a lot of experiences at some things and they haven't. And so sometimes you just have to, you know, I hate to say earn, because a lot of times when you're dealing with people in I don't know what you are, LS, AZ, AOs, we're not known for being the smartest fucking people in the room. But people, so then people assume that you're kind of slow. And so sometimes you really do have to show them that, like, just because I'm a certain rate, or because I chose to stay enlisted and not go officer, it doesn't mean that I was somehow incapable, or I'm stupid, or I can't form a sentence. Like, so sometimes you got to go out there and initially kind of earn their respect on a human level, because a lot of times some of them are taught to look down, um, whether it's intentional or not. They're kind of taught where they kind of come in at on this totem pole, and they don't really realize the benefit of forming that, especially if you're talking like division officers, of forming that divisional triad and becoming lockstep with their chief and their LPO, to make sure that they're putting the same face forward, and that they're kind of talking the same language. There's nothing worse than one person saying one thing, and then 10 minutes later somebody walks in and says something completely different. And so it only takes usually one of those interactions for somebody to realize, okay, if you get some new news, we need to discuss it before we go and go out with it. And so I hate to say earn their trust, but sometimes that's just what you have to do to build that foundation. And then you start building all of the, okay, this is the mission, and this is how we get this accomplished, and this is how we utilize the resources that we have around us, and this is how we go and make things happen. And certain things you're going to get out of the wardroom, you're not going to get out of the chief's mess. And some things the first classes are going to be able to handle way better than anybody else. It's just a matter of different talent pools.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's all good information. Because I don't want to say it's difficult, but it can be difficult at times to build a relationship with a division officer. But it has to happen, no matter what, because then the sailors begin to see it, and then you looking like, oh, the chief and the divo don't get along. That play mom and pop against them. So it's just little stuff like that you got to be mindful of, and working with them divos. But it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
So Ty, you and Adonia, so y'all have been ship's company. You get those officers straight out of the academy and that kind of stuff, or you always LDOs coming to y'all too?
Majority of the time it's LDOs for us on a ship. Yeah, it's always LDOs. But you get like a little, I shouldn't say little, but like the weapons admin officer, he or she might be an ensign, but they got a swole pin already. But then on the amphib, you'll get like an ensign in the G2 division. That's about
Yeah.
it. But
So
for the most part,
what
for
about
us,
you,
it's
Joe?
all.
Well, my splasher right now is an ET2 off the carrier. So
Oh wow.
yeah. So I had to break that mold between enlisted and officer with him every once in a while, as far as like basically how he's talking to junior sailors and then interacting with junior sailors and whatnot, and then like he'll want to jump in and do some grunt work and stuff like that. It's like no, you're supervisor now, so you direct, man. So yeah.
Absolutely. I need a divo to divo. I tell him that, like, for us, I say everybody wants to be the gunner, but nobody wants to be the division officer. Um, you have a specific role in every once in a while. I had a great ensign on the ship, straight out of Naval Academy. Super smart, super fast, and really took a lot of time to sit down and, like, let me read your eval binder. Cool. Here, read the whole thing. Okay, why do you use this word instead of that word? Why did you do that? And you could tell, like, he was already playing the long game, and he had literally been in the Navy for like 6 months. And he was already asking, like, why? And then he'd be like, well, can I read the E5 evals when they're coming through? And I'd be like, sure. And then he'd be like, okay, well, when y'all are reviewing them in the office, what exactly are y'all looking for? Like, what's your best way of making sure there's no mistakes on them? He was just a real blessing to have something like that. And then I had one that played video games all night and would take naps.
We have
So both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. I had one like that when I was on the forward because I'm real passionate about writing evals, and she was the only one that I would let make corrections on my evals. The gun boss wouldn't even touch it because I was just passionate about it. But she was really good. She went to the academy, but she came from a DDG academy, DDG, then came to the forward. Then she went back to the academy. I got to check on her because I don't even know where she at right now. She should be back on somebody's ship right now. But she was talking about leaving the surface world and going, to like I guess like an HR side like the Navy has now or something like that. Yeah, she was talking about doing that. But I always just wanted to see her as somebody's CO because she was just like really, really good. Like really, really good. And every eval award, she was on it. On it. One of them like, really star like officers. Like you could see like she gonna be real good. But I guess she realized like the surface world was like eating her up. They like not respecting what she does. So that's why she kind of just like, I'm ready to bail over here and do something different. But I hope she stuck with it. She was good though.
Hey, Ty, I'm glad you asked this question because, I write, something like this when I do a charge every year about, for especially for AZs and AOs dealing with those young gunners and LDOs and warrants and stuff that they deal with because they might not have the opportunity to train a junior officer, but they got to have the patience to deal with someone who you can't tell shit because they wearing a bar or whatever. And you just have to have that patience to be professional and get your point across when you're talking to them.
It's an ongoing task, because even for us, this at the match sheet level, you got to know how to have that relationship with the department head, with the XO and the CO. So it just, something that you grow, at the same time as a chief to a senior chief, like you growing how to develop and build relationships, with officers, at that high ranking pay grade. Because some people, you know, you got to deal with admirals. It's not even just the captains. You talking about admirals. And not necessarily you had to be a CMC or anything of that nature. but your job says you got to debrief or brief an admiral on a daily basis. So you have to know how to handle your business just the same, you know. Because that same attitude that you have, or that same mindset you have with that young, you know, ensign or Lieutenant JG is a totally different mindset than dealing with that captain or admiral, you know. So yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So what are y'all learning, or I shouldn't say learning, what are y'all looking forward to like this season? You know, we done. I'm just want to talk, just continue until we actually all uploads. But I appreciate y'all coming out doing this again. You know, I got some good topics next for the next round, but you know, we'll get through it. Like this season, like
What am I
so
looking
hold on. I
forward
mean, before you
to?
answer that, how many you
We're
have left?
over